50, he will be sending these agents to Indiana. He's worried about the wrong border. We don't have an immigration crisis in Chicago. We have a gun crisis, and the president could care less about the real solutions. In closing, violence in Chicago is not because we have too many immigrants. It's because we have too many guns. So our message to Trump continues to be the same. Stop posting truth socials. Stop making statements. Stop threatening to send troops or ICE. Stop defunding our communities. Just do your job and end the trafficking of guns into our city. And thank you. With that, we'll turn the podium over to the Cook County Board President, Toni Preckwinkle.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to thank all of you for being here today. Thank you, Governor Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, Mayor Johnson, Attorney General Raoul, for standing in solidarity with the people of Illinois, Cook County, and Chicago. 4 years ago, leaders from the county, the state, and the city formed the Government Alliance for Safe Communities to collaboratively confront the gun violence crisis. This alliance works to maximize the impact of public funding, build cross-sector partnerships, and support organizations working on the ground to reduce violence. Together, we've made historic investments in community safety. Over the last 3 years, Cook County alone has invested over $100 million in community violence intervention and other evidence-backed violence prevention strategies. We will soon launch a new capacity-building network to provide training and technical assistance to strengthen organizations and maximize their impact in communities. Our government partners at the state and city level have also invested at unprecedented levels. Why do I bring this up? Because it's working. In Cook County, we've seen a 35% drop in gun homicides from this time last year and a 45% drop in gun homicides from 2021. I'm going to say that again. In Cook County, we've seen a 35% drop in gun homicides from this time last year and a 45% drop in gun homicides from 2021. Our investments are working. Meanwhile, President Trump is freezing $158 million in funding for violence prevention programs in cities like Chicago. He's dismantling the Office of Gun Violence Prevention and terminating more than $800 million in anti-violence grants nationwide. Needless to say, crime prevention is not his true agenda. The President is reducing resources that are working while undercutting local efforts. He is deploying active duty military personnel within our own borders. This is our America today. I say all this as we gather at a critical moment in our nation's history. For generations, our parents and grandparents believed that democracy was not simply an idea. It was a promise that people, not soldiers, should decide the future of our communities. That promise is now being tested. Threats from the federal administration to send ground troops to Chicago will test us. Let me be clear. There is no emergency in Chicago that warrants federalizing the National Guard, deploying the National Guard from other states, or sending active duty military personnel within our own borders. Their presence has not been requested by local leaders. The streets of Chicago belong to the residents of Chicago. They do not belong to federal troops. They do not belong to those who would use intimidation and violence as tools of political oppression. As the president of Cook County Board, I've spent my career working to make our institutions more fair, just, and accountable. Democracy is strongest when our people feel empowered, not threatened. If our residents see soldiers in combat gear patrolling their neighborhoods, they won't feel safer, they'll feel intimidated. Rather than troops, here's what's needed. We need the Trump administration to pass bipartisan, comprehensive immigration reform. Restore community violence intervention grants. Lower the costs of goods impacted by tariffs. And restore cuts to Medicaid and SNAP that take away health care coverage and food from the table. History teaches us that democracy is not self-sustaining. It requires constant vigilance. It requires courage. And most importantly, it requires people willing to stand up and say, no, you will not trample our rights. To the people of Cook County, I say this: do not be intimidated. Do not be silenced. Democracy depends on your voice, your courage, and your peaceful, I'll say that again, peaceful participation. Stand tall, speak up, and remember that no troops, no weapons, no show of force is stronger than united communities that refuse to yield our rights. Chicago will not succumb to threats, and Cook County will not be silenced. I'd like to welcome to the podium the Attorney General of the State of Illinois, Kwame Raoul.
Thank you, Madam President, Governor, Mr. Mayor, and Lieutenant Governor. I'd like to repeat something the Governor said. We cannot, and not anybody in this room can be dumbed down to believing that any of this is normal. President Trump has been utilizing the notion that he and he alone can deal with crime in American cities, and his preferred tool in doing so is the American military. The problem with this approach is that it's both bad strategy and illegal. I won't deny any day that we do have a serious crime problem in Chicago, as do American cities throughout the nation, in red states and in blue states. Recent mass shootings and reports of other crime are horrific. While Chicago's crime problem is serious, it is far from the worst in the country. President Trump's approach of using the military is bad strategy because the National Guard is not trained to do local crime fighting. Furthermore, the use of the National Guard as a crime-fighting force is simply not sustainable. It is further bad strategy because there has been no effort by the President to collaborate with local leaders or local law enforcement. Collaboration and a comprehensive approach is critical to successful crime fighting. Since the outset of my tenure as Attorney General, I and other local law enforcement partners have worked closely with federal law enforcement partners, including the FBI, DEA, ATF, Secret Service, and others,